There you are. Can you see us?
Yes.
Great.
Awesome. Okay. So let me just make sure that my students are going to be able to log in. It's interesting how they do it because even though you invite people, they invite them to watch, not invite them to participate, and we can't invite them to participate until you actually have it going.
Now I can hear you over the phone. I can't hear you on the.
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay, hang on 1 second.
You might have us muted.
Yeah, there. Is that better?
Say something again.
Yeah, is that better?
You're not coming through over the speakers. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Click on there, and then look at your sound settings.
Okay, try speaking now.
Is that any better?
Shit. No.
I might have to listen through the phone.
Okay. Hang on 1 second.
And you're sure you don't have us muted, right? Because I'm getting sound from the computer. I'm getting all the operating system sounds. I'm just not hearing your voice.
Yeah, is the actual volume on your machine up enough?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, good.
Check your mute button.
Oh, hey, Megan, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
I can hear Megan.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear Megan. We can't hear you.
That's weird. All right, let me hang up with you guys on the phone for a second. Call me back.
Oh wait, time out 1 second. You don't have a secondary mute button on your earpiece, do you?
No.
Okay. Oh, but Megan can hear you, so that's not.
Okay. Well, let me see.
It sounds like the worst case scenario is you'll have to keep an open call while this is happening.
And I can do that. Why don't we just do that? If I can hear the other people, I'll just keep you through my phone.
Okay, that sounds good.
You have a little bit of minutes, right?
Make it work.
Okay, good.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Vincent.
Megan, are you in Mayhaw or are you elsewhere?
I'm in my apartment.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hi, Megan. I'm Carol.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
Okay, Carly, join in.
Hello. Who's Carol? That's Carol. Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
What's your name?
I'm Carly. This is
Hi, Carly.
Corinne. Oh. That's no more. No. Should I? No. I'm going to turn my volume off.
We'll just use my mute everything. Okay, I'm connected now.
Your tiny little computer is so not. It's so low. I don't understand. Is your mic on?
There is feedback from somebody.
Should we turn that? Are you?
Okay, so sorry guys, I'm messing around with my
messing around with my preferences. Carole, can you hear me now?
Yep, I'm hanging up on my phone.
Oh, okay.
I think we're all here now.
Good. Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
I don't know what's going on with my equipment here. Not unusual though, as everybody can tell you. Okay, so Carole, we are so excited to have you join us in our class. And as I mentioned to you guys, Carole Corriveau has many years of experience in development, which is a fancy word for fundraising, working with nonprofits. And she's a good friend of mine, and I'm really happy that she's able to join us on such short notice. And so before we have Carole talk, do you guys all want to introduce yourselves? Why don't you start, Brianna, from the left?
Brianna, are you in red?
Yes.
Yes. We'll put her up on the big screen here. There she is. Oh, can you guys do the lights? Somebody do the song and dance for lights. So Framingham State, if you're not moving around, if there's not a professor parading around in front of the class, the lights go.
Hi, I'm Brianna.
That's a sustainable school. What? Go on, Brianna.
I'm a senior English major here with a concentration in creative writing and a minor in photography. And I guess someday I'd like to work in young adult publishing. And that's me.
Nice. Okay, Carly.
I'm Carly. I'm a junior English major with a professional writing concentration, and I'm hoping to write video games when I'm an adult.
Great.
Now, when you say write video games, are you meaning like the coding or like the scripting or?
No, the scripting. Scripting and character development.
Nice. That'll be fun. It's sort of like young adult fiction, right?
Yeah.
Or it could be adult fiction.
There you go. All right. Corinne.
Well, we just skipped right over Megan.
Oh, but Megan's down the end on my.
Oh, that's weird.
That's funny.
Anyway, I'm Corinne. I'm a senior English major with a concentration in professional writing and a minor in psychology.
Good combination.
Yeah, I have an internship at a small PR firm in Shrewsbury, so I'm hoping to continue on in the PR field. Particularly, I would like to be able to find a position as like a content writer for media pieces or press releases. Yeah.
Great.
Carol, you've written a couple press releases in your day, huh?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm a junior, and I'm a visual communications major, and I have a minor in English.
All right.
All right, Megan, do you want to start off with a question for Carol? Or wait, Carol, do you want to talk a little bit about your background and experience?
Sure. My name's Carol. As you know that, I started working for Bank of Boston, which is now Bank of America, back in many years ago. And my job was to help nonprofits with communications advice and also bringing them the bank's money, which was a lot of fun because people really listen to your opinion when you come carrying a big check. And after several mergers with the bank, I decided to go to the other side, and I've been working for nonprofits since, helping them further their mission through communications and raising money.
Cool.
So.
And can you talk about your role right now?
Yes. Now, currently, I'm Director of Philanthropy for Sale Newport, which is in Newport, Rhode Island. And we are a public access sailing program. We provide affordable rentals and storage and lessons for people in our community. We also provide free programming for kids in public schools and kids using community centers. And the other side of our business is running big, huge global regattas like the Volvo. I don't know if you heard of the Volvo last May. But we run regattas, and the regattas can bring in as much as $45 million in economic development to our community. So we take care of sailors from beginners to world champions.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you've done. So can you talk a little bit about the different industries that you've worked in?
Yes, I have. Well, right now it's public sailing and recreation, education. I've worked for a children's mental health hospital. I've worked in conservation. I've worked with scientists. I've worked with a hospice. So a little bit of healthcare, a little bit of education, and a little bit of conservation work to create a more sustainable world. And I have to tell you, it's a lot easier to talk about Sail Newport and our mission than talking about creating a more sustainable world. And Suzanne knows that.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like why people like Pinterest, right? It's aspirational, it's fun, it's you're talking about positive things, not trying to take things away.
Yeah.
Which I think when people think about global warming and climate change, they think, oh, I have to give things up. And people who are passionate about sailing, it's really easy to connect on that level.
Yes. Are any of you sailors?
No.
Well, come on down and learn.
There you go. Yeah, that's a great thing to do. In Newport. How old do you have to be to partake?
We offer classes for kids as young as 5-year-olds on up.
So we got a year and a half.
Yes, exactly. Get on the waiting list now.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so Megan, can we start with you, and you can talk a little bit about, explain Opportunity Works Connecticut. This is the nonprofit we're working with, and then maybe maybe Carol will have a follow-up question, and then if you can ask a question too, that would be good.
Sure. So we're working with a nonprofit called Opportunity Works. They're based in Connecticut, and basically they're like an adult day service for adults with disabilities. So they work with adults with disabilities, and they have like programs for them. So they do like arts and crafts sometimes. They also have like an apartment in their like facilities where they can like learn life skills so that they can get out in the world on their own and not have to rely on their parent or the services for the rest of their life. So it's a really cool company, and basically we're just kind of helping them kind of get noticed a little bit more and kind of set up social media and their website so that they can expand the people that they're able to help right now.
Mm-hmm. But both attracting new clients or attracting new funders and partners in the community.
Right, yeah, kind of a combination.
Okay, great.
Megan, do you have an idea of which target audience you would be most interested in focusing on for the final project?
I don't really have a preference, I don't think.
Okay. Just for the sake of informing Carol, do you want to pick one and talk about that a little bit?
All right. I'll just do the first one that we talked about last week, which was the extended family members. So these are people who obviously are related to the adults in Opportunity Works, and they are based wherever they live. So they don't necessarily have to be close to the adult with disabilities. And we kind of talked about how to kind of engage them some more and kind of expand their knowledge of Opportunity Works and what they're doing for their relatives. We had just kind of figured out that the best way to reach them would probably be like through email, a newsletter, our blog, or Facebook. Social media wasn't the primary method of kind of getting in contact with them.
And the goal for engaging them is?
It could be a variety of things. It could be just kind of, so it could be just building loyalty with them, and kind of like engaging with them. It could also be to kind of get some donations, just because it is their relative, and they might want to help the company that's helping them be able to do a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And by communicating with them, they could also feel, have more confidence and feel safer as to where their loved one is.
Right.
Seeing the day-to-day, seeing the work that they're producing or the friendships that they're developing or trips they're taking or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think one of the ideas one of the ideas we discussed was, is there an opportunity to get bequests? So, for example, from a grandparent, and then what would that look like, or how might we approach that? Because this is actually beyond my expertise, but we see that there's a need there, and so we feel like we need to step up, just like we talked about working with volunteers and coming up with volunteer job descriptions when we're saying, okay, at events, have somebody run the photo booth, have somebody make sure that people know what the hashtag is. So coming up with, which is different than what we've done with other nonprofits, but we see that there are specific needs, and we were trying our best to fill those needs.
The bequests or planned gifts are usually, people who usually do that have really deep and meaningful and long-term relationships with an organization, which you definitely have the possibility of developing that with OWC. Usually they've already made significant donations to your organization, so that they would start self-identifying by someone who's giving on a regular basis and very involved. The only potential obstacle there is often people, and I know this from working in mental health, often people who have family members who are in such situations, they have to set up trusts so that when they're gone, they know that their loved ones are being taken care of. So, they might want to support you, but they also need to support the individual that they care about. And if they're wealthy enough, they can do both.
Right. So it sounds like that might be a goal for the future to get there, but that we need to start smaller to develop those relationships.
Right.
And then say, hey, maybe in 3 to 5 years, this might be something you could put together.
Yeah, and one way of introducing that is if there is someone involved in the organization who has already let them know that they're making a planned gift, in the newsletter, celebrate that person, do a donor profile on them, have that person in their own words explain why they felt it was important enough for them to make a bequest to the organization. It's always more genuine when donors tell the story of why they're doing something rather than having the director of development or philanthropy say it for them.
Right.
Plant the seed.
Yeah. So, follow-up questions for you guys about that?
Pulling in volunteers is really important. People who volunteer for organizations tend to give significantly more than people who just write a check. They feel more connected, they see the need every day, they know the staff, they understand the challenges that the organization is having. They just feel really good about it compared to somebody who you come across their radar maybe once or twice a year and they write you a check and then they forget about you. Volunteers are really invested in the organization on a much deeper level. And there are so many different opportunities for volunteers that you could sit down with the organization and map them out, everything from helping with events to helping with administrative work to helping with finance work to helping with fundraising to helping with, are there opportunities for people to go and work with their clients directly? and take whatever whatever the volunteer's personal expertise is and bring it into the group settings and share it with them, whether they're an artist or a photographer or a cook or whatever their life is, to bring it in and share those experiences with the clients.
That's really interesting, and that is something we hadn't really explored yet. With the we do the wave.
Yes, the FSU wave.
Yes. That to explore this idea of recruiting volunteers as a stepping stone to getting more donations.
Yeah.
And one of the things we did talk about was who wants to talk about the photo booth concept at the events? Corinne, can we nominate you?
I guess so.
All right.
Yeah, so we had kind of talked about ways to get more attendances at events, things that are going to entice people to want to go and take pictures and promote them on their own social media accounts, whereas it's hard for our particular nonprofit to have an individual or an employee to really be continuously updating and uploading pictures and like tagging it properly for events. So in order to get the members or like the attendees to do that kind of for them without doing it for them. And one of the ways that we thought we could do that would be to do something like a photo booth or like a photo station, where maybe even the adults that are attending this nonprofit could even create some form of backdrop in one of the craft stations, or donations in the week prior to that for any old costumes you might have, funny hats, that kind of stuff, so that they can do like a fun, goofy kind of like photo shoot, or if it happens to be a themed event, like costumes and props that could be like connected with that, so that it would be a way for them to go, and if there's like a particular hashtag, I think Megan had the idea of putting like the hashtag on like the invitation or the ticket, so that when they go they use that hashtag, so that the nonprofit is getting the recognition and like that kind of thing, so it could like help really kind of like get it out there, while also making it fun for the people that are going.
Right. Yeah, and it's a way to keep the conversation going after the event, which is important. So often with events, everyone puts all their efforts into the event, and then the big day comes and the event's over and everyone goes back to their daily lives and there's no follow-up and there's no continued connection with people. So doing something like that you're giving them a tool to keep passing it on and on and on.
Carole, what are some ways at Sale Newport that you guys keep that conversation going after an event?
Well, one of the things that I'm doing a lot of now, rather than big events, because when you do have big events, it's hard to follow up with a whole bunch of people. But rather we focus more on getting people to open up their homes and invite 10 or 12 people in to hear from Brad or me or one of our instructors about all the good that Sale Newport does. And so then you can have a real conversation and they can ask you questions and you can answer their questions and really build a deeper relationship. When we have big events, we use social media to keep the conversation going. And hopefully you get a couple of people who come back and want to volunteer or want to give or want to do more. But big events are usually, they're great for celebrations, but they're hard for fundraising. I wanted to talk to you guys, because you're all English majors, about communicating the message for OWC. And I looked at their website briefly today, and the homepage says, Opportunity Works Connecticut enhances the lives of people with disabilities through meaningful and gainful employment experience. We offer programs and skills, mentoring and advocacy that help individuals live happy and productive lives, lives in their community. In my opinion, they did that backwards. When you're trying to motivate someone to to do something, to volunteer, to make a donation, to really care, if you start with the why and then get into the what and the how, and instead of starting with what they do, they started with what they do. We enhance people's lives with disabilities through meaningful and gainful employment, compared to starting off by saying something like, we believe that people with disabilities can live a meaningful and productive life. They can live a life in which they experience the triumph of success, the joy of discovery, and the comfort, warmth, and laughter that comes with friendship. Which is going to get you more, if you start with the why, your audience can easily jump in and go, yeah, I believe in that too. Whereas if you start getting into, and this is what we do, you can start sounding like a laundry list or a shopping list of, these are all the different services we provide, but bring it up a level. And I have, with every nonprofit I've worked with, when you stop and take a step back and start communicating your message with a why, it makes everything flow so much easier and clearer and with more emotion. There's a great TED Talk by Simon Sinek.
Oh, yeah.
On how great leaders inspire action. And it's all about starting with the why.
That's the title of his book, Start With Why.
Yeah.
It's good.
And in working with nonprofits and in working with anything where you're trying to get people to change their behavior or a call to action, starting with why is the most effective, in my opinion, the most effective way of going.
Nice. That's a really good tip. Okay. So who wants to ask a question? Just a general question, or Carly, you're gonna go? Okay, let me put up on the big screen.
Sorry, Corinne's along with the microphone. So I guess my question would be, what?
Yeah, look at your screen, because otherwise you're looking.
I'm sorry.
Away. Yeah, we can hear you. Okay.
I don't know. Can you still?
Yeah, I can see you.
Yeah. So you had said that larger events are like not the best way to fundraise, but it seems like at least on their level, they're the only kind of events they're actually advertising. So,
right, you don't advertise the smaller events. It's invitation only. You find somebody, and you find a volunteer, and you talk to them, and you say, all right, who do you know in the community that could be moved by this, and then they pick up the phone and they call them and say, come on over for dinner. And so the cost to the organization for an event like that is $0, and you could get somebody around the table who's so moved that they write a check for $10,000. Or you could do a lot of, or with fundraising events, it's usually 50 cents for every dollar goes to the expenses of the event. So if you're selling a ticket for $50, you're really only bringing in $25 to an organization. So it's the most expensive way to raise money. But at the same time, people love going to a good party. And you're here in Newport every single weekend in the summertime. There's a great party. But it's expensive, and it's a lot of work on staff. So you do it once a year. You don't do it 5 times a year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Sue had sent me some notes. So one of the notes Sue had sent me said, how do we solicit without sounding like we're soliciting? And if you're really passionate about something, you should feel proud to be asking for money for it. And you don't have to hide it behind anything. You don't have to sugarcoat it. You just have to be honest with the people and you have cultivated them enough already so that they know enough about your organization and are passionate, so when you're going to ask for money, they're ready for it and they know. The other thing that made me think about when I read that was another question was, is it better for a family member or a staff person to go and solicit? And the answer is it's best when they work as a team. So if you're going out and trying to convince, and if no matter what kind of marketing you're doing, very rarely do you send one person in to do the sales. You send two people in to do it together. Boy, that must be really annoying in classes.
It really is. There's generally more movement in like classes though.
I guess there's enough movement in classes. But I would think it would be easy to get the extended families involved, and for them to want to be part of the lives of their loved ones. Yep, I'll be over in a little bit. Does anyone have any other questions?
Questions? Carol, what about, are there any other questions from that list? Because we don't want to take up too much of your time. Anything are important to talk about? Some of them don't entirely relate.
How do you get extended family members involved? The way I get people involved is I first sit back and watch and see who naturally in a group is rising up to a leadership position, who's jumping up to help people, who's a networker and pulling this person and that person together and making them have a conversation, and then that's the person you want to go out to and ask to volunteer for you, and then ask that person to find volunteers too. It's always best when it's grassroots and coming up that way rather than the staff member going out and trying to pull in volunteers. Start small and have the group grow organically. There was another TED Talk, even though I was saying big events aren't the greatest way to raise money. There's another TED Talk that might be helpful for you all to watch that is done by Dan Pallotta, who he started the breast cancer walk. And the title of the TED Talk is Why the Way We Think About Charity is Dead Wrong. And so often in fundraising, people are looking towards the cost per dollar raised and how to do things as cheaply as possible. But if you can spend a little money and make 10 times more money, then which way are you best serving the organization? By being frugal and not taking chances and not getting out there, or by taking chances and getting out there? Another question that Sue gave me was, if you were to set up a donor sponsorship package, what would it include? And for a group like OWC, where you have a pretty narrow audience, you might have the community where OWC is, the businesses that are there that might be able to give you $500 or $1,000 a year or something like that. But the reason people are really giving to OWC is because they believe in their cause. It's not like giving to March of Dimes or St. Jude's, where if you're a big sponsor, 5 million eyes are seeing your logo on their brand. With OWC, you might have an audience of, I don't know, Sue, what would you guess, a couple of thousand people?
Yeah.
So it's hard to get sponsorship for something like that. So it's best to do it more one-on-one.
I think what we were curious about, and you guys definitely chime in, is what do people find appealing? What do businesses especially find appealing? Because businesses are also one of our target audiences, like as thank you gifts or promotional things like that, like something tactical.
I would have it be something that is made by the clients, a calendar or gift cards. When I was at Bradley Hospital, we had the students draw cards at the holiday time, and we had them printed up and bundled up in packs of 10, and we sold them, and people loved them. And on the back of the card was the mission of the organization. Mm-hmm. So you were promoting the organization while giving people something to give away, and so you might be able to do that, or but not buying a tchotchke off of a website. I would try to make it as homegrown as possible.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a really good tip. And what about anything like signage or PR promotion? What do you think sponsors find that appealing, or donors?
Yeah, but you have to have a big enough audience.
Right.
If you're having a gala and you're having 200 people there, the local businesses might like to have their banner there and their name in the program book or something like that. But they're most likely giving because they believe in what you're doing. To me, sponsorship is you're trying to drive your own revenue through helping another organization, whereas philanthropy, you're just giving because you're a good person. And, well, not that people in sponsorships aren't bad, but at Salemport, we have it very much divided. We have people who go out and do the sponsorship packages, and then I'm in charge of the philanthropy. So it's getting XYZ company to give us $100,000 worth of gear a year for prizes at regattas and things like that. That's someone else's job, and I'm focused more on getting someone to give us $100,000 because they believe in the work that we do.
How many people work at Salemport?
In the summertime, there are 6 of us, and in the wintertime, there are 6 of us, and then in the summertime, there's 60 to 70.
Wow, okay.
Because it's all instructors, and it's on the water, and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Really? I thought there'd be a lot more people than that, but yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I thought there'd be a lot more people, too. We just work really hard.
I know, and yeah, very efficiently, too, I would say. Okay. All right, Brianna, do you have a question? Or do you want to talk about a different target audience?
Yeah, I was going to ask about the sponsorship, but another target audience we have is what we're calling referral partners, which are group homes and social workers. So it'd be interesting to see how to target to them. For groups home, we were thinking of having people from Opportunity Works go to a group home and kind of have a station for a day or so, making jewelry or something that they do.
So you're trying to recruit clients that way?
Yes, I think.
That's a good idea. Getting out there and letting people see what you're doing and see what experiences you can offer. So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go in a minute. We are having a public meeting. Salemport is going to be building a new building, and before we can do that, we have to have a public meeting. So people who don't want us to build a building can come in and give us their opinion, or those who love us can come in and give their opinion. And I've got to be there in a half hour to do my prep there.
Yeah, good. All right, well, good luck with that, Carole. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And if you guys have any further questions, Suzanne has my email address, and I'd be happy to get back in touch with you.
Okay, awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, thanks, Carole. Hopefully see you soon.
Yep, bye-bye.
Bye. All right, good. We got some good ideas in there, huh? What are some of the things that stand out to you and, change your thinking or evolve or give you new ideas? Was somebody volunteering to speak?
Well, it was really the whole event thing, because it seems like Opportunity Works generally does bigger events, at least from what it came across, big events versus doing the little ones, and to hear that it's actually usually more beneficial than smaller ones. Mm-hmm. So now how are we going to convince them that that's a better way to go, and also what are we going to provide as examples
of having bigger events at the smaller ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that's interesting, but I wonder if they are going to say like, oh God, we can barely do what we're doing now. We have to do different events. But I wonder if this validates the concept of the parent support group.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think Carol's approach to like what makes somebody want to donate and what makes somebody want to volunteer. What I find, all right, well, let's let you guys talk so you can talk about what you find most enlightening. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I definitely think being a like good idea, particularly about the whole bigger events being like a more costly thing for them. I don't know. I was really interested by what you said about sponsorship and how like you're less likely to want like something out of it if you're giving because it's not going to be like a huge promotional thing. It's going to be more of a because it's local business. So it's more like a feel good concept than an actual promotional concept, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if that was just like in reference to like, all right, we are having the logo somewhere all over the place, that sort of feel, or if, like, I feel like it would be different for like if we were holding an event somewhere, like there's more in it at that point for someone else.
Good. All right. Brianna.
What really stuck out to me was the idea of if you're passionate about something, you should be proud asking for money and being clear and honest, which, I don't know, I thought that was really like a cool thing, I guess. And I also like the idea of like doing holiday cards or something like that.
Yes.
Like I really like that idea.
Yeah, and that's something they could do, right?
Yeah, definitely.
What about, did they say anything, did Bill say anything about they like how they're trying to sell, or can you tell on the website? Really, there's nothing standing out to me about how they're trying to sell what they're producing.
Yeah, I don't remember him saying anything about that.
Do you guys have any ideas on what might be good, you know, in terms of this holiday card concept? Is there a way that we can expand or adapt that?
Well, yeah. Like like customize Christmas gifts or something.
Well, like, I don't know, like, I keep thinking of, like, I don't know if, like, all towns are specifically, but, like, my town has, like, Norwood Day, where all the little shops and organizations set up tables, and you can do, like, arts and crafts and, like, sell handmade things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, like, you just have to put down, like, however much it is for their people. And that the whole day you're just, like, selling things, and you're also giving out information about the organization. So that's the possibility that they have a lot of like, public town events where they can have something like that, or even like, I don't know, school fairs or something. It's like where the community is being integrated into the town and more like everyone's crashed together and you want to give out information and everyone wants to sell something and all that super cool stuff.
That's kind of what I was thinking is, you know, if they have people making crafts and making jewelry and making things, then is there a way that like I can pre-order things like custom, or maybe one of their events could be like a craft fair, you know, where people can go and then they can sell. But then, so what works well with that, like when Carole was saying with Bradley Hospital, that people would buy these cards and they'd send 10 cards to 10 people. Those are 10 people who may or may not be familiar with what the hospital does. If you can see that concept, sort of like we talked about with Trip and the Map is Art and the wedding gifts idea, or the favor, or the, yeah. So how do you take your product and put it in and empower people to use your product to spread your message? That could be a pretty powerful effect. Like, oh, nice. What about anything else that Carole talked about that you thought like, oh, we could definitely do that, or we could adapt that, or
Oh, about keeping the conversation going even after the event, like on social media. I thought that was really interesting.
Hang on, let me mute myself just to.
Good.
Okay, anything else? What other ideas did she mention that you think, oh yeah, let's
I don't know. I really liked her whole idea about the well, it's not really her idea, I guess. It's just like a statistical fact that she brought up that like more people tend to donate when they're involved in the organization, and I think that would be a really good thing for them because right now, other than the people that are involved currently, like they're not doing much outreach to the public community, and that would kind of give what's his name, Bill? Yes, Bill. Sorry. A reason to like possibly put forward that idea that we had last week about maybe integrating high school students into it or into some of their volunteer events because those students will be helping with these smaller events possibly or even the larger ones, who knows. But those are more people who are going to get involved and like usually they'll work in groups and their parents will probably want to come and see their kid volunteering and all that good stuff.
unmute myself. And also the youth group idea too, I think is interesting because then it's not just one person, then you have like a flock of high school students, which can be a good thing. Yeah. So yeah, I like that idea. What about, she mentioned something kind of interesting when she was talking about like skilled volunteers. She mentioned photographers, and we've talked about photographers, but she mentioned a couple other things. I thought like, ooh, this is interesting. Recall? No, okay. She said it kind of quickly, but what she said was like cooks. I thought, oh, that's really interesting. If they have this kitchen set up, is there a way that they could have professionals come in and have, like, here's a meal that you can put together? So over the weekend, I don't know if I mentioned this, that I worked with a Quinnick Community Table, which is the farmers market and about sustainability and food security and people having access to fresh local food. And they had their big event on Saturday. And what we came up with for them was that they really need to have a Facebook group to help people communicate and keep the conversation going, which is different from what they've done in the past. So usually they just have the event and then that's it, like Carole said. But to not only be thinking about, oh, we have this department, let's teach people skills, like here's how you microwave something. How about here's how you can make a meal fairly easily with healthy ingredients. And that may be a way for Opportunity Works to tap into the food community and the sustainability community and to look for people who are interested in those things, but also willing to expand their worldview and say, wow, this is really interesting that they're doing this. That because kids is a big focus also in healthy eating habits. So, and I would think maybe like the group homes would be interested in it also. I'm not sure. But I thought the chef's idea was really interesting. And then, do we remember when we were talking about like how maybe they should do an unveiling of the apartment?
Mm-hmm.
And to have sponsorships there. Oh, and Gail Olafson's going to meet with us, not next Thursday, but the Thursday after. And so she's the one, she works in sponsorships, not for Sale Newport, but for another organization in Newport. And so we can ask her about like signage and sponsorships and things like that. But I wonder, you know, if there's a way that if they're going to have an event, like an open house event, if there's a way that they can incorporate a local chef to be doing food in the kitchen and doing food demonstrations in the kitchen, that might be a good way to pull somebody in. Cool.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. What else are you guys thinking about after talking to Carole?
She also mentioned something about their website and like having the why like stand out, like why they're doing what they do. I thought that that was really good because, like she said, it's going to get people more interested in the organization, which could lead to a donation and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And so I think, you know, when you're writing and you're messaging, let's definitely incorporate that. And I think, I can't remember who, when we were talking about the education nonprofit that I can never remember the name of, the other one. So who nailed it? Who said, "See your students succeed"? Like that was the whole. I mean, that just totally encapsulated exactly everything that nonprofit does, and I think brings that value to it. And that's why the organization exists. That's why parents care about the organization. That's why there's a need for it, because people want to see their kids succeed, and they, not just parents, but you know, I think the community at large want to see kids succeed. So I think that speaks to what Carole was saying at the start with why. Okay. Anything else? Another thing too that I think we need to emphasize to the Bill and the team. I remember when we were talking about volunteers and how we anticipated there would be pushback, right, from the staff. We don't have time. You know, it's just easier to do it ourselves. What do you think, you know, when we talk about that pushback and what Carole said? Like how, based on what Carole said, like how would you push back on them and say, no, you really need to consider this? Somebody want to jump in?
Well, I mean, basically, based on what Carole said, it's like they basically form a bridge between the families of the individuals and the community, and those volunteers are just like another group of people who are going to be willing to put in time and effort and are going to be the ones putting in more money because they're going to be the ones who are passionate about it. So that's like the most important thing. That's the reason why they need these volunteers.
Right. And, you know, did you guys get a sense that they work with many volunteers? Because I'm sort of on an assumption here. It didn't sound like it. We didn't really get a chance to talk to Bill about it. But even if they are, it sounded like the volunteers would be working directly with the participants, not necessarily working toward marketing or fundraising or anything like that. Do you think that that's a pretty reasonable leap to make, or assumption? Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking, is that, you know, in some ways there's like a, you know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like down at the bottom you have your food, shelter, health component at the bottom, and then the next step up is like education, and the next step up is well, I think security is at the bottom. Anyway, I can't remember 100%. But I think if you look on the Pinterest board, I have one that how it relates to marketing and the hierarchy of needs. But if we apply the hierarchy of needs to marketing this organization, right? Like at the bottom, you have basic, like here's who we are, right? And then you have volunteer opportunities. And then you have sponsorship opportunities or donations. And then at the top, you would have the planned gift, right? From what Carole said, she's like, whoa, hey there, don't get all crazy with the planned gift right from the get-go, because it takes a long time to get to that point. So I sort of see this as like, you know, a pathway, right? We're guiding people by clarifying the messaging, right? The start with why. And then from clarifying the messaging, give them opportunities to engage, like we talked about, right? Like giving a volunteer something that they feel like they can do by creating those roles. And then once they engage in that and they're doing that well, and they see the value that the organization brings, then you come at them with like, oh, and wouldn't you like to donate? And then you come at them with the planned gift. What stands out to you when we were talking about the planned gift and how to promote that and how to go about that whole process? Anything stand out to you from what Carole said?
I thought it was interesting to note that she said to have other donors who may have done this to tell the story instead of someone from the art organization, to make it more appealing and have them be like, this is why I left this gift.
Oops, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Could you just repeat the last part?
What did I say? Just to show why it was important to them to leave that gift.
Right. Yeah. And also, what I thought was interesting too is that it's a lot easier to have to hear that message from a peer than from somebody who's on the staff.
Yeah.
What about sort of the doing the ask part? Anything that Carole said that you found enlightening about asking people for money?
I thought it was interesting that she said the best was when like a family member and a person from the nonprofit work together. As in like two people in to try and ask for money and just be like proud about it.
Right. Yeah. And I think and as far as some of the ideas that we had, do you think that lends greater credibility to, say, the parent support group?
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're going to need to articulate to them. It's like, it's not just nice to have a parent support group, but we're creating opportunities for people to engage more and to become better advocates for the organization and to build awareness within the community. And in some ways, the parent support group, and I don't think this should be the primary goal, right, in the day-to-day stuff, but the fact that these parents are together in one room on a regular basis gives an opportunity for somebody like Carole to say, hey, here's how you could approach a grandparent about donating because they can't be there at these events, and to kind of give them those skills. So what's interesting is one of the reasons why a lot of people volunteer for boards and activities and things like that for nonprofits is because it's a good way to exercise skills that aren't in your direct experience, right? So a lot of times people will want to be on a board to have professional relationships with other people on the board. And actually that's a technique if you're trying to change jobs, right? And you have a specific company that you'd like to work for and you know that someone from that company is on a specific board that you would try to or volunteer with that organization. Granted, I mean, you still have to care about the organization, have some skin in the game, naturally, but that's a technique that people will use to try to break into a new company or a new job. So, for example, and this I think worked better when you're more geo-specific. Like Carole knows, before she started that job, she knew tons of people at Sale Newport. Knew the executive director, and so when she was looking for new opportunities, it was kind of an easy fit. Like they all kind of knew each other. So you can kind of see where that lends itself to your career path. But people want to get involved because it's an opportunity to exercise professional skills beyond what is what is your current expertise? So, for example, I'm thinking of a good example. Or for networking, too. You know, a lot of people who are in financial planning will get involved with boards and organizations because that tends to put you into contact with wealthy individuals. And that's just, it's not the only reason, but that is a reason. And to kind of get your name out there and build relationships with people. So I think what we're going to need to do is articulate to Opportunity Works that, hey, the parent support group isn't just great for parents. This is an opportunity for people to become more engaged with the organization, to develop a volunteer pool. And then the more involved they are with the organization, the more likely they are to give or to do fundraising activity. So, for example, go out and collect silent auction donations from different businesses. So if we go to like Joe's coffee shop, right, we talked about, like to be able to go into Joe's coffee shop, you know, let's say, and I actually have to get on it, that I have a bunch of people in my networking group who donate to two causes that I care about, and it's easy ask for me, and it's easy, you know, it's not like I'm cold calling them. I have relationships with these people, and I know they know that if they say no, that I'm not going to feel bad about it. So I don't feel bad about asking because I'm not going to feel bad if they say no. And it just, and in a lot of ways, it's good awareness. So it's good awareness for Joe's coffee shop if he's down the street from Opportunity Works. He could just say like, "Oh, I'm going to give a $50 gift certificate," and it's like, okay, that's great. That's really good. So that somebody's going to bid on that at a silent auction, and even if they get it for $40, that's $40 the organization didn't have before, and then they're saving $10 on merchandise. It's sort of like a coupon. A lot of times, unless a lot of people bid on that, and then they overbid on it, which is kind of what you want for the nonprofit. But so when Carole was saying, what did she say? What the ratio was if you're going to hold an event?
It's like 50-50. She said something like that because if you sell a $50 ticket, yeah, 50 cents to $1.
So this is where the silent auction can be really key, because typically you don't go out and buy the silent auction items, although in some cases some organizations will pay it at cost or do something like that. But silent auction is really key because it's all money that comes in. There's not really overhead. So that might be something to incorporate into our plan, is that if they're going to have events, that they make sure that they have good silent auction items. And a tip that I picked up from the event planner who's based in Boston, who did Chelsea Clinton's wedding. He's like a major event planner between Boston and Palm Beach. What he said is, like, if you're going to have a huge event with like the CEO of this and that, if you can't have Patriots box seats. Those guys already have box seats. Patriots have to go whenever they want, right? So you have to have unique experiences. So one thing that Opportunity Works might want to think about is, now let's go back to the chef idea, right? Now that they built this relationship with the chef, maybe the chef does an event at Opportunity Works for Carole and 10 of her friends to come and to do private tasting, or tasting menu for cookies and meals. And that could be something that the chef, provides all the food, or Opportunity Works provides the food and the chef just provides time. But to create experiences, people love that. The interesting thing about people, I think, as you get older and you have access to more things, is you're not really interested in things anymore. You're more interested in experiences. And other silent auction items that work well are like vacation houses and ski houses and things like that tend to do well also. Okay. What else?
And she mentioned at one point that volunteers tend to give more donations than other people, which I thought was interesting. But it kind of makes sense because they're actually seeing like what goes on in the organization and like, what everyone thinks there actually really cares about, and that they actually care about the organization. So they kind of get like an inside look into it. So it makes sense, but it wasn't something that I would have thought of before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't realize that either. I mean, yeah, it definitely makes sense. But like I said, the fundraising part is not necessarily my area of expertise. More with the awareness and the marketing piece. And some of the messaging that goes into the fundraising, but the actual mechanics of 50% of the event goes to overhead. Yeah, I didn't know those ratios. Good. Okay. What about, so let's think about, because Gail, we're going to talk to Gail, not next week, but the week after. I know there's some follow-on questions that you would have asked Carol that maybe we can ask Gail. Maybe let's take a minute and put some questions into the chat. I'll start.
Just my question.
Nice. These are all really good. Brianna, are you working on one?
Yes.
Okay.
Corinne took mine, like, right as I was about to hit enter.
Yeah. This is the thing about going first.
Yeah.
Excellent. These are all really good. Okay. Copy paste. Okay. Anything else? Ah, nice. That's a good one. That's a good question. All right. Fill this in. Okay. You know what I was thinking is we went through the exercise on Tuesday, right, where we worked with the different target audiences. So I'm wondering if everybody wants to write, let's pick one, each pick one, and then write that up. And if you want to send it to me ahead of time, I'll take a look at it, because that's going to be part of your final project, right, to articulate that. And I just wanted to mention, if you want me to look at it ahead of time, I'm happy to. And it would probably be good to do it sooner rather than later, because we just did that whole exercise and it'll be fresh in your mind, everything that we've talked about. And then you can always, we can always go back and reiterate. So let's say Gail says something that like really changes how we're thinking about things. You can always go back and tweak things. And the other thing too is that Gail is meeting with us like the Thursday before a final project written draft is due. So we'll kind of need to have everything pretty much together. So we should look at what she has to say as sort of like the icing on the cake. Does that make sense? Okay. And it might help. So here's how I would approach it, right? Is like, let's all pick a target audience and then write up what you want to write on your target audience for the final project, and then write your blog post that's due on Monday. Because it'll be easier to write your blog post when you have like all that criteria of what we talked about written down. So that's how I would approach it. It's going to make your blog post much more effective. So does anybody have any strong preference of which target audience they want to go for?
I kind of like donors the best, personally. That's just, well.
Right. Oh my God.
Yeah, just.
Okay. So Corinne will take donors. Next.
I can do the referral partners.
Okay.
I don't know. Family members, extended family. Oh, it was like two different ones. Oh, you did. I don't know what's left. Wait, so the family, right? Is left? Did you
I'll do extended family. Is my next one on?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay. Does everybody want to put in the chat what they're going to do?
Yeah, can I do everything? Target audience, yeah. Or is it too close to the extended? No. We categorize them separately, so. Okay. Cool.
Excellent. Well, that's good. Any questions about the assignment or final project or anything like that?
So when is the exact due date of the final project? Or like due date?
Yeah. So let me just refer to my notes there, syllabus. So Monday the 25th is going to be the written draft of your group project. And then what I'll do is I will give you comments back on the 28th so that you have time. Or I may push that back a little bit because our final presentation is going to be May 5th, not May 3rd. So May 3rd, I think we probably won't meet, so that you have time to work on your presentation. So my goal is to get comments back to you by the 28th, so then you have them. Probably, I'll try for the 26th and grade everything over the weekend. And then we could talk about it on the 26th in class. And then May 5th will be presentations. And then, so what happens oftentimes is in the presentations, Bill or whoever's going to be there will comment on something, and then you'll be like, oh, wow, I should have included that. Or I'd like to revise based on what he said, which had I known then what I know now, I would approach things a little bit differently. So that's why the actual final project will be due May 9th. But at that point, like, I'm just doing a quick read, like, oh, good, okay, I'm glad you took that feedback into account. At that point, it's pretty much going to be done. And my goal really is to make sure, because what's different about this class, right, is that there's somebody who's going to be looking at this beyond us, right? So that's why everything, back up the bus so that it's not May 9th and I'm getting something like, oh my God, I can't give this to these guys. So that way there's opportunity to revise. But I think, you know, what we should do is be doing bits and pieces of it now, right? So as we get closer to the end of the month, you just have to go back and make revisions and updates and clarify a few things here and there, that when it comes time to doing the final draft, it's not really that big of a deal. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Probably you'll need to coordinate with each other, and it may make sense to like carve out a little bit of time either before or after class, and then somebody will have to take on the role of creating one final document and uploading that to Blackboard and making sure that it's not all like 15 different fonts and font sizes and stuff like that. So you want to be thinking about your reader and making it one cohesive document. You probably need some time together to write the executive summary, because you're going to have 4 different people writing 4 different things, and yet it all has to the executive summary has to come together. So does that make sense? So, and yeah, I would just carve out some time either before or after class when you can have everybody together. Okay. Now it's easier that there's 2 people too. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then the assignment from Monday, for this coming Monday, is different than in the syllabus, but it's already in Blackboard. It's basically writing your blog posts. And like I said, I would basically do what the assignment was for last week. Do that first, which we kind of went through in class in great detail, so it shouldn't be that hard to pull it together. Write that first, and then do your blog post for your target audience. Yeah, because in essence, like 2 weeks later is the final draft. And, you know, we still have time next week to walk through, if we need to walk through specific sections, like what the executive summary should look like, or brainstorm what that should be. We can do that in class too. And then the following week, I'm in San Diego, so we'll be on Periscope. And we still need to, we should throw in some, I want to throw in some of the analytics and metrics, things like that. And so we'll do that next week, because this week and next week was all the same topic, was metrics. And it's really raining here. I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's like pounding down. Okay, cool. Any questions? All right. So I think what we should do is I think we should break off early, and rather than me broadcast the TED Talks to start with why, Simon Sinek. So here I'll put in the chat. And then I have the link to bring it up. So those are the 2 different TED Talks. Let me see if I can find a link to them. I would take it and watch them because they could give you other ideas too. And also, I think this type of stuff I think is going to oh, interesting. Okay. Why? I think it's going to inspire your executive summary. This type of stuff. I think our biggest challenge in this is not going to be the social media part, but convincing them like why they should do it and why it's important. And that's where the executive summary is gonna come in handy. Oh, and also, you know what I just wanted to mention too is that if you guys have ideas for infographics or any visuals, also you might want to include those. You know, you could even include a link to, if you find that these talks are really important and could be helpful, you could refer to them and include a link in the executive summary. Okay, good. All right, well, let's wrap up a little bit early then, so you guys have some time to watch that. And then, you know, let's jot down some notes so that we can discuss it on Tuesday a little bit. And how, you know, how these concepts relate to what we're doing and to justifying what we're saying they should do. It's not just, here's what we should do, but here's what you should do and why and how. That make sense? Awesome. Okay. All right, well, I'm going to stop saying we should wrap up early and we should just wrap up. All right. Cool. All right, well, I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have for me on Monday. And ping me over the weekend if you have any questions about it. Mondays, I'm less accessible. So take a look at the assignment, you know, between now and Sunday, let's say midday. And if you have any questions, definitely email me.
Okay.
Okay. And it should be all set at Blackboard. All right. Thank you very much. You guys have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.